All right.
Good
Well, welcome to Southwest Bucs Talk. My name is Gene Thomas. You can reach me on Twitter at Super Heavyweight. I do have my information here. I'm going to be joined tonight by Greg Barber, who is a Saints enthusiast. But what really works out for me is he is in Tampa, Florida. Greg, tell us how we can reach you, and let's hear a little bit about you.
Okay, well, Greg Barber, basically a Saints fan, been a Saints fan for since 8, 9 years old, 10 years old in that range. So I've been a Saints fan for a very long time, from Archie Manning on down. So I pretty much remember a lot of the teams. I live here in Tampa myself, so I do kind of keep pretty much my ear to the ground about team like the with the Bucks and what's going on with them as well. So you hear, I hear a little of the news and stuff, and of course I watch the team, so I do have some familiarity with them.
All right. I normally my co-host would be Nikki Ortiz, and she's unavailable tonight. So fortunately for me, I do have a great football mind in Greg Barber, who's going to join me, and we're going to talk a little bit of Bucks news. First
Hmm.
off, I want to say congratulations on that win. Um, I know it's the
Thank
end of the season; it's a meaningless game, but I look at it, and it's like the Bucks haven't beat the Saints. It's been seven games ago since no eight almost 8 games ago since the Bucks actually beat the New Orleans Saints. So that's
Yeah.
you know that's a streak I really wanted to end. But I know a lot of fans are talking about wanting that first pick, and I
Yeah.
know how vital that is. And to me, I just wanted to beat the Saints, but it didn't happen.
Well, I happened to actually go to the game Sunday, to the Saints Tampa game, of course,
Okay.
and yeah, there were a lot of Bucks fans who approached me and other Saints fans that we were together, some of us together, about how they wanted us to win the game so that they can get the first pick in the draft. And some of them were mad because we had the lead. I'm like, literally,
Yeah.
we probably would have got attacked if we didn't lose that game and we didn't win that
Man,
game.
and you should have seen Twitter light up. It was ridiculous when the Bucks were up 20-3, and you think everybody's cheering. Everybody is furious. They're like,
Yes.
why do you wait till this game to start playing?
I mean, like they were manic depressive, and in a way, probably some Saints fans were to a point, because I mean, basically we lost that one game. Maybe we get a little higher draft pick ourselves.
Right,
But at the
right.
same time, I think we kind of wanted in the end. Most Saints fans really did want to win the game, but we played so bad at that point for a while there until the second half that it was looking like it was looking rough there. But I mean, I wasn't giving up hope. So because I was like, well, I mean, if they lose, I said you win in that way because you get a higher draft pick. I said if we win, at least we end the season off with a W.
Yeah,
It's just like it's
exactly.
hard to walk out of that stadium and have them beat us. Because it was bad enough losing to Atlanta twice, and
Yeah.
then we just got, I mean, and then got in a huge thump by Carolina in our own house. So I mean, we got to feel better a little bit. So I mean, I'm okay, because the high draft pick doesn't mean success anyway. It doesn't. It's not a. It's definitely not a magic pill to turn the team around anyway. Whatever that one player is, he's just going to only be a contributing factor, not the difference in that sense. So, as far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have the win overall. I mean, deep down.
You
So,
know,
but
and that's kind of where I was. There is a rivalry. I know the Saints have, and we had talked about this on our show Southbound. Um,
yep.
the Saints have a rivalry with everybody, and that's the one
Mhm.
team that I can say that I love our rivalry because
Yeah.
you have some of the best trash talkers in the NFC South in the New Orleans Saints fans. And you hear
Yes.
that who that, and I tell you what, I've jawed with the best of them. I'm
I
telling you, I
mean,
have jawed with the best of them. So,
and it's so many at the game. I mean, there's still probably more Bucks fans at the game, but
mhm.
there were still a lot of Saints fans in that game.
Oh, absolutely. So, that's the one thing. You got that healthy rivalry, that trash talking, and that's what's always fun. And
Yeah.
that's the one game that I always look forward to. The two games
Mhm.
actually, us playing against the Saints, and the
Yep.
Saints. and maybe sometimes the Carolina Panthers games get really
Yeah.
interesting too.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I mean, for us, we have for whatever reason we have a little bit of a rivalry. We have like a special rivalry with all three teams. You know what I
yeah,
mean? And they're hot and
exactly.
they're heated rivalries. When it comes to us, all the other three teams hate us equally. I mean, they maybe Atlanta a little more than everybody because it's just like we just. I mean, it's just simple as that. I mean, it's like. I mean, it's literally like marrying. It's like trying to marry Hatfield and McCoy.
Yeah,
You know
there
what I
you
mean?
go.
When it comes to Atlanta. You know what I mean? It
Yeah,
just, and I actually I actually do know, Saint and Falcon fans who get married. I, you know,
the house
God bless
divided.
them. Somebody ain't gonna come out alive in that one,
I
boy.
know that's right, man. That's gotta be something right there.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of tonight I kind of wanted to touch on the Saints game. We're talking a little bit
Okay.
about that, and it's a
Yeah.
tale of two halves. And
Yeah. It really was.
I know that the hot news right now is the NFL is allegedly investigating the Bucks for trying to tank the game. But
Are you serious?
If you watch Tampa all season long, they're notorious. I mean, even going into last year and year before last, they're notorious for losing the game in the second half. Yeah, it's just been the way it's been the past 3 years. I don't see
Well,
how this game is any different than any other game, other than the fact that we're playing for a higher pick.
yeah, well, let's say it like this. I mean, okay, let's start even just with basic history of football and draft picks overall. How many number one draft picks were bust in the NFL that you've seen? I mean, like, how many were bust?
I can't even begin to count that.
Uh,
How
right,
many
but
busts you have?
more than what you got is fingers. Am I right? It's more than what you
Right,
got is fingers. We're talking, and we're talking, and even if we said first pick in the drafts, I mean, Jamarcus Russell, we can name him.
yeah,
It's probably too soon to talk about Clowney at this point.
right,
The David Clowney, but
hmm,
a lot of people are already trying to put that on him because he was hurt. You know
right,
what I mean? We can think of so many more other guys. Tim Couch.
right,
I mean,
yeah,
like was Trent Dilfer was one because when he's number one pick in the draft, if I remember right, he was number one pick, and then I mean,
Trent Dilfer.
and basically my point, yeah, huh?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
you get,
I get
yeah,
why
I think,
I understand where I see where you're going with this, and you're absolutely right. And this is what I've been stressing to Bucks fans. Please be patient, and you got to hope that your general manager and head coach can hit home runs on all these draft picks. You still got to go
yeah,
out and draft these players, and these players still have to come in and play. So just
yes.
because they look good on paper, I mean, it may not be this. It may not translate next season.
Well, it was funny too because I was listening to an interview with the GM. I think it was today actually, and they were talking to him, and he was talking about some of the issues they had with some of the free agents and things like that, and he was talking about that they got to be better at as far as with picking these guys and I guess evaluating or whatever and, with the free agents and things like that. Well, they said that sounds scary as hell to me personally. Because I mean, you think that here's a guy who been in NFL front offices for years, so you would
Right,
think that all the pitfalls before you even got the job to a point. I get that there's still a learning curve, but you
right,
can't tell me that if you were direct with personnel that somewhere along the line you don't already know. You don't understand the pitfalls and know how to cover up against them. You would think that you would know that to a
right,
point,
right.
and maybe I'm
Well,
wrong. You know what I'm saying?
and at this point right now, the season's over. We've had a chance to reflect on a lot of the games the Bucks have had, and with
Hmm.
all the offensive lineman issues that we've had this season,
Yeah.
not to second guess the coach or anything, but it just makes you question why would you get rid of all these offensive linemen and send them elsewhere? And
Yeah.
yeah, I understand the salary cap, but we weren't hurting that bad. As far as the cap goes.
I don't think
I
Well,
mean, not that I can
I can't remember
remember.
how you guys are never hurt at all in the salary cap. Most time you guys are like 20, 30, 40, $50 million under the cap almost every year.
Right.
I mean, you guys are struggling to spend money, much less trying to. I mean, you ain't trying to.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's
I promise you, you ain't cutting nobody because of salary cap.
right. So I guess I'm trying to understand what was the reasoning. I guess I'll probably never know, but what is the reasoning that you would get rid of all these guys and bring in career backup players? I mean, some of these players have never started, and you're
Yeah,
picking them up and bringing them in and putting them in a starting position.
probably clean slate. That's the only thing I could think of. Almost that maybe they felt like that some of these guys right here, because you know what it is. I mean, a lot of times I think when most guys when they come in on a team, they most of the time are going to purge the roster. I mean, Sean
Right.
Payton did it. I think Sean Payton did it when he first came in New Orleans. I think 31 people. You know, like he cut like 31 people out. You know, and had a whole new
Right.
team with 31 people. That's almost over 50% of the team was brand
Right.
new. You know, to that. And I mean, they didn't. I don't think the Bucs did that as drastically, but I think with some of those guys, and maybe some of them had an injury history and things like that. So they probably looked at it like this. You know what? Let's try to. You know, we got some guys who might be less used. You know, when who you said like career backups who may not have been hurt as much and things like that, who probably could be sufficient and handle the job. You know,
Right.
and the thing about it is that they came in with a less than average quarterback or average at best in McGowan. You know,
Yeah.
you
Who
handed him the
again?
ball.
There's a career backup right there.
Career backup. Yeah, which see for the life of me because I've known him since he came into the league, and I can't remember ever that anybody ever appointed him as a starter ever. You know, he's never had a stint as even a starter, other than unless that he had come in because somebody was hurt. If the
Right.
quarterback wasn't hurt, he was on the bench,
Right.
and it was
Where
just simple as so,
yeah, holding the clipboard.
huh?
And I think that he was
Right.
comfortable holding the clipboard.
Right, right. So I mean, it's not like you were bringing in Michael Vick off the bench. It's not like you're bringing in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even Matt Flynn for that.
A known quantity. Yeah,
Yeah,
somebody that you could
right.
just bring in
Not
and
these
you know
drafting
what you get
spots
out of it.
and throw some Mark Sanchez or somebody like that. A little bit different to me because they had some starting experience. And you got maybe something that you can look at upon and say that was positive. I mean, but everybody
Right.
talking about those 5 games McGowan did. I mean, I don't care what anybody said. I thought that was more Trestman than McGowan, in my opinion. And and the way I look at it, I was proved right when
Hmm.
I said that they shouldn't have been. He shouldn't have been. I wouldn't have signed him. I'm glad
Right.
they did
Oh,
because being a
I
Saint.
personally, and that's pretty much how I felt about it. I was thinking that these people that they're bringing in, because I didn't know a whole lot about these offensive linemen. I'm thinking they're basically going to be
Right.
improvements, and it turns out they weren't
Mm-hmm.
improvements. And you need your
No, they
offensive line
weren't.
to open holes for your running game, which basically helps your passing
Yes.
game when your running game is working. I mean,
Yep.
as a Saints fan,
Exactly.
I'm sure you remember Darren Sproles. When Darren
Oh,
Sproles gets
absolutely.
going, and there you go. I mean, your passing game is wide open. You
Yep.
can do so much because you're
Yep.
worried about the running
Yep.
game. You have to keep everybody. You keep the defense
Yep.
honest when you got a good running game.
Right. And I mean, you guys have. I mean, two pretty good running backs. You got only
Yeah,
got practically your own little Sproles and
yeah,
Rainey, and then you got Doug Martin, who's actually, I mean, to me, as good a running back out there as is in the league.
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
know he's dealing with injuries and stuff, but he showed some flashes in the game. I felt,
Oh,
against the Saints.
absolutely. But that's because
He
the
back on
offensive
track.
line, and our offensive line was doing what it was supposed to do.
Right. Yeah, he opened a couple holes, and he showed he still, he still got a little bit there. But
Yeah.
yeah, it seemed like to me too, like they said, I think what they pulled Mike Evans in the second half,
Right.
which I mean, like I don't even understand that. I mean, well, you understand it, and I think that's why they're being investigated because when that's glaring when you got a guy who's rookie of the year, he said he was gassed and they pulled him. You know what I mean? I mean,
But but
most
and
guys who are gassed when they breathe into the oxygen tank and get
uh,
back out there, and he didn't do that.
well,
I mean,
in the team's defense, I know that that game was meaningless. Number one, I mean, it didn't.
I
It
totally
was
agree.
truly
I
a
totally agree.
meaningless game. And normally, the last game of the season is where if a team has got a lead, they sit their
Mm-hmm.
players. If a team is already in
Right,
the playoffs, everything is
right,
positioned where it needs to be. Those
right,
starters are normally resting, depending on the
yeah,
coach.
exactly.
And in this
Right, and
case,
then
in
Hmm.
this case, we've got talent that we need to assess and figure out, do I want to re-sign this guy? Do I want to bring this guy back?
Right.
I'm going to put him in real-time settings against starters just to see how they do.
Well, I
And
mean, it's the same thing.
and why and Mike Evans is your star wide receiver. You've got a lead. Why would you go out there and have him out there just like Gerald McCoy was playing? Instead of
Yeah.
shutting him down, the season is lost. Gerald McCoy got hurt against Detroit, and then he
Yeah.
re-injured it and made it worse
Yeah.
in the game the next week. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why not shut this guy down? I mean, you paid him all this money. You want him healthy for next season. Shut him down and just move on, and let's see this other talent that we have and see what we've got. I wouldn't have played him personally.
Right. I mean, with that, and I was gonna say like with Saints when they came into that game, they had already put Akeem Hicks, I think they put Vaccaro and Pierre Thomas on IR before the game began.
Yeah.
So we already knew, and then Vaccaro basically what they said was a healthy scratch, but he was actually dealing with, I guess, with a quad injury he had been dealing with for like a few weeks.
Oh,
That he
really? I
had.
didn't know that.
So I did. Nobody didn't hear about it until after the game. Honestly,
Okay.
that's what I heard about it. Yeah, because I never heard about the quad injury until after the
Right.
game. They talked about it. But
Mm.
anyway, basically what it comes down to is that the Saints basically did the same thing as the Bucs did in a sense. Because I
Right.
mean, you think about if you're hiring, your one of your starting defensive tackle or one of your starting
Right.
defensive ends, you're running back, you're
Right.
basically scratching your starting safety, and you basically got a lot of guys who are coming in, and then you pull
Right.
two or three guys from the practice squad to come in, and you pull them
Right.
out to the regular squad. I mean, you basically did the same thing as the Bucs did. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
don't see why the Bucs
And like
investigated
I
it.
said, you just got a hard time proving that the intent was to tank the game because they went
Right.
out there and they ran the ball. And when you pull your best wide receivers out of the
Yep.
game and you want to see your people from the practice squad, I'd want to know how they do. I personally would want to know, hey, do we even consider keeping this guy? We're going to play him against the Saints, who they're trying to win too. So you're
Mhm.
getting a good look at these players, and you decide if you want to keep them or not.
Yeah, I mean, if the NFL are NFL are actually even wasting time and resources to do something like that. And the fact that anybody even complained or said anything about it, because I mean, it did. Read the article in Pro Football Talk when they said it right after that they were, basically Lovie Smith said we were not trying to tank the game. We weren't trying to tank the game, but we pulled a couple guys and things like that. They pulled some people to look at other people and things like that. I didn't see anything wrong with that. And number two, I mean, at that point, I wouldn't want to risk high dollar guys that I got out there for a game like because that for a game that like you said, if one of those guys blow their knee out, it might be a year
Exactly. Exactly.
before they even come back. So you're talking about they could actually literally miss the next season if it's bad enough. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So,
And that's the whole point right
so
there.
what do you do then? So the NFL can't do. I mean, they can't do that to you. You know what I mean? If that's the case, if you got a game like that, maybe they adjust the ticket prices.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? Give everybody a $25 discount on the tickets, or something like that, a refund, or if you're a season ticket holder,
Hmm.
give them credit for a few couple
Right.
$100, a couple of games. You
Right.
know what I mean? That if
Yeah.
they're going, so if that way if they sit out players or something like that, they could do that. If they're playing for a playoff spot, I get it that you charge a full dollar value for the ticket, but do something to a point where the fans don't feel cheated. Because okay, well I got a credit for the tickets or these season tickets, so I didn't pay full price for like practically a preseason game. Because the
Right.
preseason game jip as it is.
Yeah, it is.
You know, that's a jip as it is, and the
Yeah.
NFL has no problems about charging you for those. Not pulling their starters after one series. You know what I mean? And they're paying full
Yeah.
price for that. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's double talking. You're talking about the side of your neck on this.
Yeah, and where the NFL is concerned, I don't get it sometimes. Like this whole thing with Ndamukong Suh. I don't mean to get out of the NFC
Oh
South,
no,
but
that's fine. That's fine with
but
me.
but honestly,
I don't.
that whole play. I
Yeah.
guess maybe I'm looking at it differently. I consider this guy a very dirty, to be honest. That's my personal opinion. on how he plays sometimes. Sometimes he plays hard, but there are times where he just takes it to the extreme. And
I,
based on what happened with Dominic Riola the week
yeah,
before, where
yeah,
he stomped on somebody, and
yeah,
I go back to 2011 when Sue stomped on somebody, and
yeah,
you know what? If you got it in your mind, okay, I got caught doing it by stomping. Maybe if I step on him,
yeah.
you can't say, well, there's intent there or nothing because I accidentally stepped on him. But this guy, this is his MO, is to do stuff like that. And when you see it the first time,
Mhm.
which we saw it, and I think it was Dietrich Smith. Dietrich
Yeah,
Smith, he
MD,
stepped on his
yeah,
arm.
MD, yeah,
Stepped on his arm, and he got fined for it. He got in trouble,
yeah,
and they'll fast forward to now, and here we have Aaron Rodgers who's beating the brakes off my team, and he's making my defense look bad. And you accidentally step on him. I mean, it kind of you wonder about the intent, and there again, he gets a big heavy fine, but he doesn't get suspended. So
right. Yeah, they rescinded the suspension. I mean, he's an old school player. He
yeah,
reminds me
really,
of what those
he
guys
should
used
have
to do
been
back.
playing in the 50s.
Yeah, he easily could have been playing in the 50s, 60s, or 70s as a kid.
Yeah.
Like I said, I mean, so some of that stuff to me is like doesn't even faze me that somebody stepping on somebody. I'm like, I mean, I saw that was like regular. That was like
Yeah.
I'm used to seeing somebody step on somebody. I think don't get me wrong. I get there's a level of sportsmanship. Don't get me wrong, and there should
Right.
be a level of sportsmanship. But there's also to a point. You can't tell me that fans deep down in their heart, if they were in the same shoes, they wouldn't try some crap like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sorry. I ain't gonna even lie. I told you right now. And I tell people like, if my own mom was on the field, I'd nail her if she was trying to from a Super Bowl. And she would do the same to me if she was, what I'm saying, if she was in the
Yeah, I'm
same
sure.
shoes.
I'm sure.
You know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? So, I mean, it's just simple as that. I mean, that's so. I mean, to me, I think the fans try to take a higher attitude, like they would never do such a thing, and they're shocked by it. But let's say deep down, base down, and deep down, if you were that person, if you was in his shoes, you gonna try, especially if he was burning you, and he was frying you like fish in the
Yeah.
middle of your own field. I mean, just like really, you are burning those guys.
Yeah.
Are you trying to get him out of the game? I mean, you can't tell me no Lion fan didn't say nail him, hit him, get him out of the game. You can't tell me that.
And what's funny about that is I like reading when you read the story and read the
Yeah,
comments.
the comments are the comments are classic. The comments are classic.
Yeah.
Half of them are coming out the side of their necks.
Right.
Because half of them, you're a dirty player. You this and that. Oh, you kidding me? You probably cheat at Monopoly and
Exactly.
probably buy cards and stuff up under your. I'm sorry. I mean, I'm like I said, I'm not gonna lie about it. I mean, I'll be straight up. Like I said, like who was it? When I think somebody who was it? Was it Cam or somebody grabbed Cam's jewels or whatever? I forgot what it was.
Yeah, and that's happened. That's happened to me. I mean,
like, I'm sorry, but I've seen worse. I mean, it was just hard for me to be highly. I mean, I get it. You don't want it to happen, and but okay, find the guy. I mean, I can't see you suspending the dude.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a
yeah, because and when you put it like that, it was different. It was different than Dominic Riola stepping on the other guy. That he just stomped that dude.
Right.
That was his intent. Was
right. Yeah. Right. But he had some plausible deniability that he stepped on Aaron Rodgers because he was backwards and his back was turned. So it's not like he saw Aaron Rodgers. He just kind of backed over him a little bit, and just didn't realize it. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he didn't do it intentionally. At the same time, to me it was like
it is what it is.
Yeah,
and the NFL, and once again to me, the NFL flip flopped on this because he's either guilty or he's not guilty. You can't find if the guy didn't do anything wrong, you can't fine him. But if he did do something wrong, you can suspend him.
Let me tell you right now, there are poor kids riding around in limos off of NFL suspension money right about this point. You got a couple kids running around in Escalades and that sucker, boy.
And do
You know what I
whatever
mean?
what happens to that money when they get that when
It's
they
supposed
pay
to go
that
to
suspension?
charity. It's supposed to go to charity. All fines, from what I understand, are supposed to go to charity. Now, I'm not sure what charity. I'm not saying, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I mean, I don't know. Maybe the NFL figures, you know what? If we find enough players, we don't have to give anybody anything. Why? Because the players will be paying out of their own pocket. You know what I mean? You know. All right. So he
Yeah.
missed a child support payment because because of a borderline play.
Yeah. And that's my view on it because what Roger Goodell has kind of dropped the ball this season, and
Dropped the
he's
ball
kind
on
of
a lot of things.
he's put himself in a position where you got to question a lot of stuff that he does. Now this whole
Now,
thing with Sue,
I've been questioning things. I've been questioning that dude for years.
yeah, oh yeah, I mean the whole thing with the Saints went down. I mean it was.
Well, yeah,
That
yeah.
was, but that's neither here nor there. That's all in the past. I know he's not
It's
welcome
all
in
in
New
the past.
Orleans.
But don't get me wrong. Yeah, don't ask anybody in New Orleans. New Orleans, at this point in time, they're still hanging that dude right now. Right? And burn him alive. I hate
Yeah,
to say it. There'll be some fans who probably be all for it. You know what I mean? Or either that, or I
yeah,
mean, catch him with some really, really bad pictures.
yeah. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
No,
Anything, whatever you take him out of office, you know what I mean? They
yeah,
don't care.
and the things that he's done, the way he handled the Ray Rice situation, the way he handled Adrian
Well, yeah,
Peterson,
see, that was
that's
trust.
what brought it all to light. And
Yeah,
I go back to the James Harrison, the fines that James Harrison was getting. There was
oh yeah,
no
some
rhyme.
of his fans are ridiculous.
Yeah, but there was no rhyme or reason. There wasn't. We're not saying okay for this hit. There's no set fee for any hits. It
No.
just depends on what mood Goodell was in, and that's what he pretty much came up with.
But some of James Harris plays just bang bang plays. I mean, there's nowhere in the world he could have pulled up. I mean, I think I think it was the Cleveland receiver where he came across the middle and nailed him.
Yeah.
I'm trying to figure out what was wrong with the hit. You know what I mean? I was trying to figure out what was wrong with it because I'm like, I would have nailed a guy like that. I mean, I would have
Yeah,
been okay with
but
it.
and I think a lot of the fans, the old school fans, grew up in a time where you wanted to see the big hits, and
Well, they
I
selling
think
videos off of big hits. They
right,
were
and that's
selling videos off of big hits. Now we're basically playing touch football, the best touches.
right, yeah, and that's what it's come down to, and all these knee injuries you're seeing, and I'm wondering, would you rather get hit high and have a concussion and be out and then come back, or would you rather get hit low and risk ending your career and not being the same player that you were before you stepped on the field?
The only problem is that because the concussions, concussions can't. If enough concussion, you get enough concussion, they can end your career. But you
Right,
can blow a knee out one really good time, and you're pretty much
one
done.
time. Yeah,
One really good time. You get hit totally right,
right.
you pretty much you're toast.
Yeah.
With the concussion, you have the likelihood that you can probably come back, but you probably need it. You probably need to be out longer than a week. In all
Oh,
honesty, and
absolutely.
really to get a concussion to truly heal. But
Right.
players write that, and then a lot of times players also lie about it, and players will
Right.
tell you that. But the thing about it is this: as fans, let's be honest, and we're on the fence because we want them there to play.
Right.
But at the same time, you don't want them to end up saying that they committed suicide, 5 years
Yeah.
later after they
Yeah.
retired because
Right.
of CTE. You know what I'm saying? So you're kind of on the fence there but you
Right.
don't want to see the guy out. You don't want to see the guy, especially if he's a key player, and he comes
Right.
out and he's got to be out. He seriously should be out 3 weeks, 4 weeks.
Right.
To
And
really to
you
mentally
know,
heal.
and what I see is a lot of fans don't look at these players as human beings. And
No, they don't.
and the NFL is a microcosm of the rest of the world to me, where
It is.
you have people. I know some people that have had DUIs. Some
Oh yeah.
people that had to piece out their girl or something like that, and you don't condone it, but these kind of
No.
things happen, and
Yeah.
basically the NFL is a microcosm of all that.
Yeah.
And you can't put these guys on this pedestal. And when your neighbor or your relative or somebody else has done the same thing, I
Yeah.
understand they all make mistakes, but that's up to the law, and that's up to the NFL to handle that.
Yeah, but it's also too. I mean, you got to think about like a lot of these guys. Everybody's conditioned one way or another to a point. You know what I'm saying? Some guys, some guys lived in neighborhoods where they probably had to carry a gun from a young
Right,
age or
right,
a knife or some form of protection. Well, they're
right.
not going to stop that. Just now they got more money. They ain't going to stop that now. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly,
They
exactly.
back in those days they robbed you for your sneakers for $50
Right,
sneakers.
right.
Now you can wear $500 sneakers and you got a lot of money. Are you not? How are you supposed to stop carrying a gun or a knife then? You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? Because
you have more
you know what I'm
reason
saying.
to now.
You get robbed then. Look at what was it? Sean,
Sean, yeah,
the
Sean Taylor,
the
Sean Taylor.
Taylor, back for Washington. You know what I'm saying? What being robbed, right?
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's those type
Yeah.
of things, and players hear that. I mean, what I mean. Didn't Deshaun Jackson got robbed recently, and a
Yep.
couple other players got robbed. So
Yeah.
you kind of got to get there, where they got to have some form of protection.
Right.
And some people say
Absolutely.
hiring bodyguards, but I mean, come on, really? I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
about that one. You know what I'm
You
saying? So
know,
I mean, people.
it's I don't it all depends on the player, I guess. If you're living that life where you're out and in public a lot, I can kind of understand that. I guess I don't know.
I mean, I'm more private. I'm probably more a private guy. I'm not gonna probably be out in public. You know what I'm saying? I mean, believe me, if I had that kind of money and stuff like that, I'm out of the public eye as much as I need to be. You know what I mean?
Oh,
As far
absolutely.
as, you know what I mean? I'm probably not going to hit all the big parties or anything like that. And those type of things. But those guys, I mean, there are other guys who are more flamboyant who get out there and they want to do things, and God bless them. That's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine. I mean, but people want them to try to conduct. They're trying to tell them, they want them to be an animal on the field. It's pretty much like like you would say how you want your wife. You know what I mean? One thing in the bedroom, one thing in the kitchen, one
Yeah.
thing in public. And it's,
Exactly.
and it's kind of the same thing with football players. In all honesty, if you really think about it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
I
You
agree.
want the guy to be an absolute animal and demon on the field. You know what I mean? You want him to be a
Yeah.
country student in practice, knowing all his stuff, and then you want
Right.
him to be a fine, upright citizen. Why? And only reason you want him a fine, upright citizen because you don't want him in jail and he can't be
Right.
on the field being a demon.
Right.
And
Because
it's just
that's your investment. I
that's
mean,
your
as an owner, that's your investment. And hey,
yeah.
I don't want
But
this guy in trouble. I want him on his best behavior.
but and I get with the owner wanting that investment. I totally get that. But when the fans are raising hell with them, when they don't, when they, I mean, some of them invest a ticket, and some of them buy jerseys. So, and they watch the game. So I mean, don't get me wrong,
Mm.
they got some form of investment. I agree, get it.
Right.
But you
Right.
know what I mean. But everybody, I don't know. I'm kind of a live and let live guy to a point. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Some things absolutely, some things are, can't be tolerated. I don't care who you are. And then
Right.
there are other
Right.
things
Most
and
definitely.
right. And then there's other things where, I really don't care, that
Yeah.
much, because,
Yeah.
I'm not living their life and they're not living mine.
Oh,
You know what I mean?
absolutely. They're not paying
Yeah,
your
so,
bills.
to each his own on
Yeah.
what they do, what they like to do, or whatever. So, I mean, basically, like I said, as long as they're on the field on Sunday, I'm fine.
Yeah. There you go. Well, kind of wanting to switch gears and get back to the Bucks a little
Yeah,
bit
yeah,
more.
sure.
I
Absolutely.
want to kind of talk about the offensive coordinator situation.
Okay.
And you're now GM Greg now for
Okay.
the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Um, what do you do? You've got a 2-win season, and
Mhm.
you're trying to figure out answers. What direction are we going? You want to kind of stay the course because you've got a little bit of the groundwork laid with your
Mhm.
defense out here,
Yeah.
but you didn't have an offensive coordinator. You had to use your quarterbacks coach.
Yeah.
So you, as GM Greg, what would you do to right this ship and get it going the right way?
Well, I mean, like I said, everybody knows Lovey is probably his weak points probably on the offensive side of the ball. Now, myself, it would mean the first guy I would think of, honestly, would be Mark Trestman. I'm sorry, I know he's the guy that replaced Lovey in Chicago, and it might be a little bit of an awkward situation to some people, to a point. But I've also heard whispers that Josh McGowan kind of trying to, talk to them about
Yeah.
that. But McGowan played his best under the guy, so I get what McGowan's saying. Like, McGowan's trying to get that bigger contract later on. that old man contract, you
Yeah.
know, the retirement contract. You know, he's still trying to get
Yeah.
the retirement contract at 30 something or whatever he is.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I think Trestman. He had now maybe there's an issue with him how he runs a team. I don't know because I mean he won 2 titles in the CFL. You would have thought that
Right.
you would see those same things there. I don't know what happened in Chicago or whatever, but I think as far as an offense coordinator, and I think as an offensive mind, think about the fact that you work with Mike Evans. You got Mike Evans there. You got a couple other guys there who else is there? Oh God, I'm trying the receiver Lewis Murphy and some guys like that. You know, and you're probably going to end up drafting another. Probably you might end up finding a good, decent receiver, a strong receiver to go with Evans as a number 2.
Right.
Plus, you got Safarians Jenkins at tight end. That's a good heavy potential. Plus, you got Doug Martin, and you got the little one.
Oh, Rainey, you're talking about Bobby Rainey? Or are you talking about?
I don't know why his name is escaping me. I apologize. Man.
Well,
But Bobby
you
Rainey.
know, and then you've got Sims as well. And
Yeah.
I know you probably haven't seen a lot of Sims, but I see a lot of
Yeah.
potential in him.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'll let you go
yeah.
ahead and I'd like just kind of hear your thoughts on this.
Well, I'm just thinking that I think Trestman would, because basically he plays like a true West Coast style offense, which probably would help if you end up, let's say if you did not use that draft pick on a quarterback, which I think you will, but whoever you bring in, whether it be Winston or Mariota, I think it will help them because one is shorter passes, shorter, quicker 3-step drops, slant, things like that. Easy for them to come in and retain, and they just run it and have to learn how to read progressions and things like that. I think he can translate that to whichever quarterback it is,
Yeah.
and have them play strong enough, decent enough that the team is competitive and the offense is actually going to be a little better. You guys got a few weapons. You just really didn't have a trigger man. And it was even worse. You really didn't have a play caller. I mean, Arroyo. Don't get me wrong. He was kind of caught in the lurch on this. You know what I'm saying? He got caught. He got caught off guard on this one. Because I mean, I think if any of us got caught all of a sudden that the guy who was supposed to be calling plays and who was running the offense, all of a sudden he's gone. Now you know what I mean. Now you basically got to do this, and you're not sure where the hell to start.
Yeah. What do you do? Yeah, you're kind of
you're supposed to be coaching one position, the quarterback.
That's right.
Those are your 3 guys right there. And now all of a sudden you got to run the whole offense. You know what I mean? So now you're talking about situational calls and everything else. It's so I mean he was not great at it, but for being caught in the situation, I got to give Arroyo some credit, for getting through the season, and I mean. He probably made some strides here and there.
Yeah.
Overall, but I mean, I think Trestman is the guy. I think Trestman is one of the first guys I would try. I would look at. I've heard also Dirk Cutter is someone else that they're interested in.
That was the other name I was going to throw out there.
Yeah, Dirk Cutter. I heard that they were interested in him. I think, me personally, for some reason, I think Cutter's overrated.
You know what? I'm gonna say this. I talked with Scott Karasik a little bit this morning about this.
Okay.
Our Atlanta Falcons guy.
Yeah.
And I asked him. I was like, "Hey, what do you think about Cotter as offensive coordinator, possibly coming to Tampa?" And he said that when I look at this guy, he was good, and he did good in 2012 when he came in. And a lot of that had to do with the tight end situation. They had Tony Gonzalez. They had a healthy Julio Jones. They had a healthy big mouth. What's that? Forgetting his name.
Oh, Roddy White.
Roddy TV. There you go. Yeah. These guys were healthy. They had a good running game too. So they had all these.
What was more important, they had opportunistic defense. That was the difference.
Right. But I tell you what, the offense held their own, putting up scores and stuff. And the way they would move the ball, you still think about the offense before you did that opportunistic defense, So to me, I think that Cotter has not had all the pieces since Tony Gonzalez retired. He hasn't had all the pieces to really run that offense like he could, where he's had to. I mean, you've got David. You've got a running back that's past his prime now, and you've got some other guys that aren't as good as what they've had in the past with the Turner and the who was the
Mhm.
other and the other running back they had there.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Yeah, they cut him because of the marijuana charge. I know you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah. So they had all these pieces in place and they did good and they made that run. But once
Mhm.
Gonzalez was gone, that was a big hole that never got filled. I know
True.
that they've drafted some players, but they still don't
Yeah.
match up to a Hall of Fame tight end like Tony Gonzalez was. So they just never recovered from that. And based on what Scott was saying, and I kind of see it. It kind of exposed Mike Smith for the coach that he really is because he
Yeah.
didn't find a way to adjust and improve, after losing a player like that.
Right. But see, and part of me is this. I think he misused Tololo in a lot of ways. I think Tololo could have been a better. I mean, could have done a lot more for them than what they thought. I think they limited their own release, and I think
Mhm.
they sometimes this dude right here, 6 foot was like 6'8".
Yeah, six
How,
seven, 6'8", something like
yeah,
that.
so how you can't do like a simple 5, 6 yard turnaround and zip a pass out to him at 6'8"?
Right.
He can catch or out of reach. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah. I see what you're saying.
He could have easily been 4 or 5 catches a game. I
And
mean,
you know what that would do would take pressure off of Julio Jones, who hasn't been
usually,
100%.
exactly. Because that's what I'm saying. Because now the linebackers can't drop out and drop deeper because they got to worry about him. You know what I
Right.
mean? And they may have
Yeah.
to double him or bracket him, which opens up for Roddy or Julio. You know
Yeah,
what I
and
mean?
and
So
you
I
know,
mean,
and it even helps your running game.
it helps the running game exactly. So I think they misused Toilolo. I don't think Toilolo didn't have a talent. I think at 6'8", 6'8", he should be able to fall out of bed catching 5 or 6 catches easily. He should
Yeah,
be.
easily.
You should have 5 or 6, at least 5 or 6 plays for him a game. Just you know what I mean. Like you might go first down. You might do a quick 5 yard pass to him, run the ball, and then you might throw it. You might zip it
Yeah.
15, 20 yards down the field to Julio or Roddy or something. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? I mean, you ain't got to even put him on long routes. You can put him on short, simple routes where he comes in and just all you got to do is just like 5 yards, turn around, catch the ball where it's out of the range because they're 6'8".
Right.
How
Yeah,
many
there you
is
go.
about
Jump ball.
to
Those.
be able to stop that pass, right? Take it,
Right.
pull it in, and he could fall down for 2 or 3 more yards at
Yeah,
that.
there you go.
You know what I mean? I just think that he could have been if they were creative. If he was as creative as Cutter is like turned out made to be,
Hmm.
he would have done. He could have done that because I mean, it's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could have probably made that offense better with Tony Gonzalez in it. That's
Yeah.
simple.
Now, now, one thing that I do question, and I understand what you're saying. How much of this does the head coach have to do with the offense being run the way that it was run, or the way they adjusted not having the running game? Do you
It
think
could be.
that was
Yeah,
more the offensive coordinator? Do you
he
think
could.
it was Matt Ryan not being able to trust the tight end, or
Well, I mean,
what do you see?
well, let's say it like this. I mean, let's say it like this. Now, I guess the question will be: Is this is Ryan the one that's running the offense in a sense? Is Ryan the one calling the plays, and is Ryan the one who's determining who the passes go to? In a sense, you know what I mean? Because I mean, I would think if he had to read progressions, Tololo probably was open a few more, close to open a few more times than you think.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying?
absolutely. That
You know
that
what I
game
mean?
against the Detroit Lions, the game against the Detroit Lions, and if I'm not mistaken, he
Yeah,
was open. He was open quite a few times, and I think he was just left open. I don't know,
yeah,
and see, I haven't really followed Atlanta. Has he been?
yeah.
If he's been dropping passes, I know that quarterbacks tend to lean
I,
away
I
from.
can't say right off the bat. Usually, I can remember if a guy dropped 2 or 3 passes here and there. I can't say I've seen that many times where he necessarily dropped that. He probably has, but I mean, every receiver in the league has dropped a pass
Yeah.
or two.
Oh,
Probably sure
absolutely.
has. So everybody has. So I can't. I'm not going to count that totally against him. It's one thing if it was a little bit of an epidemic there, but I can't say it was an epidemic point. You know, for
Right.
him.
Right.
I just
Exactly.
think he wasn't used nearly as much as he could have, and I think that was the limited thinking of probably your head coach, who 9 out of 10 figured, and I mean, because they found ways to use Devin Hester,
Yeah.
you know
Absolutely.
what I mean? They found ways to use Devin Hester. You know, I mean, they found ways to use Harry Douglas. They found ways to use other guys. They kind of left him out of the lurch. I mean, that could have been, to me, that's another
That's a weapon.
weapon. At 6'8", I mean, especially like I said, red zone, he should be absolutely catching. He should have one touchdown a game in the red zone almost, or at least we should have like 1 or 2 attempts to him always. I mean, that should be just like a staple to me.
You know, and that's that. You know, that kind of reminds me of Tampa with Severian Jenkins when he was healthy.
Yeah.
I honestly believe that the ball wasn't being placed where it should have been. I look at a Mike Evans, Vincent Jackson, and you got a Severian Jenkins when he was healthy, and you know, hey, jump ball in the end zone.
That's what I was talking about. You had 3 6'5" receivers, a 6'5" tight end, and 2 6'5" receivers in Jackson and Evans.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you know, you want to always put the ball where, to me, the quarterback should be able to place the ball where they can't, you know, throw the ball, throw them open.
Even a backup quarterback should be able to do that with those big guys.
Yeah, or you don't make the team. You can't do it.
Absolutely.
You know,
and, so I got to talk about you and see, you know, what your perspective was on this. You know, basically, if I'm the GM, I know I'm going to get crucified for this. I'm trading down. I want more picks. I saw what the St. Louis Rams did with their picks, where they got multiple draft picks, and they actually made good with a lot of those picks, and their defense is lethal. Their defense is lethal, and they're missing a few pieces, but with a quarterback and that defense being as aggressive as they are, you know,
young athletic defense, very athletic, very fast. That, I mean, like, that defense is to me, it's got that shot to be up there with Seattle and San Francisco, and probably even better than them. Cause I think they're a little more athletic and a little more. I think they're a little faster. I think.
Yeah. And you know, that's the way that defense. Greg Williams is. He's a heck of a defensive mind. And I tell you, you should know this. You already know this. That's what they're used for. That's what he's used to, is the fast players. And on defense, you have to have that speed. And that's what you're seeing with St. Louis. And that's, if I'm the GM, I'm going after offensive linemen. There's a few defensive ends that I've had a chance to look at. I want to really get more into the bowl games just so I can kind of see some of the players. But honestly, I would want more draft picks. My grandmother always said the only thing better than one catfish dinner is 4 of them. So to me,
I can't argue with that one.
So to me, I mean, you know, to me, you can risk making that number 1 pick and saying this is my franchise quarterback, or you can kind of trade down and see what's available down at the bottom. You know, a little bit lower in the picks. And then you have a number 1 pick for next year, possibly. I mean, there's so many scenarios that would go into this, and then too, I would look in the free agency. I would make a little bit better choices in free agency. The draft is more important because these are players for the future. These are players that you bring in because they fit your scheme. So it's important to draft the right players. You got to hit a home run on your first, second, and third round picks. Most important. Those are the guys that you're expecting to come in and make the most noise.
I'm almost wondering if they don't, because of what they happen with free agency. I'm almost wondering if Tampa Bay doesn't just build through the draft mostly. Yeah, and I think the question is how deep this draft is. I'm not sure exactly how deep this draft is. I think it's fairly deep. Yeah. You know, but I'm not sure exactly how deep it is. I don't know if it's any deeper than, because I mean, like, even the last couple of years, I think with a lot of really good players who are going to develop later on and become. Oh, absolutely. You know, not guys who necessarily you're going to, maybe a couple guys here and there, but not that many you can plug in right now and be a, 10-year starter, but somebody who will develop along the line. I mean, so that's why, and that's what I think. If they get in that situation, at least if anything, they build it. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And from what I've seen, I was watching on NFL Rewind. I rewatched the Saints game again, and we've got a lot of nice young players that were able to make plays in that game, and I really like. And that's building for the future. They would be good, and that's what you were talking about in the beginning of the show when we were talking about having those players that can come in if somebody gets hurt, backing them up.
That
Yeah,
player that's backing him up can come in
yeah,
next man up, and they don't
yeah,
lose a beat. And
yeah,
that's where the
yeah,
draft is very vital.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and yeah, when we were off camera, I was telling him that the key things that I look for when I'm in the preseason, and what I'm looking for at the draft and everything else is that I'm always looking at for the guys who are going to be backing up the starters. Not even as much starters. I'm more concerned with the guys who are going to back them up. And the
Right.
reason I am
There you
because I
go.
know some of my starters are going to get hurt. I just
Right.
know it happens every year.
Right.
I already know I'm probably going to lose 8, 10 guys. I already know that. So
Right.
need to know that my second and my third string guys can come in and at least if anything give me 80% of what the guy who started gave me. If he could do that much, I'm happy. Because I
Yeah.
mean that's better than what you probably could be getting. You could get nothing out of it.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
we got that a few times out of some of our backup. Our depth wasn't there nearly as much as it was in the past. Because I mean,
Right.
the team has had about as many injuries as they've had this year as they had last year, and the year before, and the year
Right.
before, and made the playoffs in most of
Yeah,
those years. So, you
and
know,
I think the one thing that's really hurt the Bucks is
mhm.
missing on so many draft picks
Yeah,
over the
hmm
past four or 5 years. Yeah,
yeah,
we've hit on Gerald McCoy, Levante David. I'd say we hit on Levante David.
yeah,
Doug Martin was a good. We hit on Doug Martin, but
yeah.
I mean, you look. Let's go back
But some of
to
those are a little
2000. Let's go
easy.
to
Some of these guys,
2009. If we go to
yeah,
2009 to the present, we haven't hit on a whole lot. We have not hit on a whole lot
mhm,
of draft picks.
yeah,
The one thing that I do like about Jason, I think that he's a good evaluator of talent. I don't know what happened with those free agent picks, but I
hmm
think he did pretty good with the draft, with the players that we were able to bring in, and a lot of those
yeah,
players did get to contribute.
yeah.
So
You got somebody who should be players in the future. I mean, you
yeah.
definitely got a nice amount of nice little haul there of
Yeah.
guys.
And I really, I really hope that, like Sims, I hope Sims can develop and be able to catch the ball out of the backfield and make plays for us as well.
Mm-hmm.
Robert Heron, great hands, great speed. I think he was injured a lot this season,
Hmm.
so I hope to see more of him, in the future. So to me, I think the draft, yeah, it was pretty positive when you look back on where some of these guys were. We did suffer a lot of injuries, so next year will be the telltale. And once again, kind of going back to the draft, you have to hit on that first, second, and third round. Those picks you got to hit on them. Those have got
Yeah,
to be guys that can contribute and not project guys. When you look at fourth, fifth rounds and on beyond, those are the players where hey, they can come in and develop. You may even put them on this practice squad or something like that, where eventually they would be able to contribute. But that's pretty much how I would set my team up.
yeah. I think with the Saints last year, they had a lot of guys. I think that going to develop more into the future. I looked at them as more guys that will more. I looked at 2, 3 years down the line, they're going to
Right.
be players compared to this year. And I was
Right.
probably pretty much right about that. Other than Cooks, Cooks was kind of the only guy that I
Yeah.
knew that would
Yeah.
probably be right off the bat a player with the team, doing very,
Right.
he'll do fine. The
And
rest of the guys,
I am really impressed with that guy and what he's done.
yeah,
He's
yeah, and I
he's
mean,
playing
I
he's
wish,
playing above what I expected of him.
yeah, yeah. If he could have stayed, if he could have played all season, maybe this is a different season for him a
Yeah,
little bit
and that's
here.
what I'm saying. And I think I said this on the other show.
Yeah,
Injuries hurt the Saints. Injuries
yeah,
kill the Saints. And you
yeah,
guys had key players that could have contributed and done a
yeah,
little bit more. I personally expected you guys to beat the Falcons. That was,
yeah,
I even said that. And I figured, with Drew Brees, I know that his skill set is declining. I mean, you can't beat Father Time, but
yeah.
he's still
I mean,
playing
yeah,
at a level. He's
he's
still
still
playing at a
tackling,
level where they can win.
he's still passing with
Oh yeah,
Roethlisberger, 4,900 yards. He was 48 yards from 5,000 yards. I
yeah.
mean, don't get me wrong,
Again,
and I get it and I think what the issue is there that I think the defense is catching on. They know exactly where to get them for interceptions sometimes, or
mm,
sometimes too. I mean, he was forcing the ball in the Tampa Bay game
yeah,
because you got to think about all three of those interceptions. he could have those he shouldn't have tried to force, but he forced every last one.
Right.
Especially one in the end. He had the one in the end zone where he had double coverage. One
Right.
guy behind him, one guy in front of him. He throws the ball, and of course the defensive back in front of him catches it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, why is he forcing the ball? Because I had end zone seats, so I'm watching the whole
Right.
game. I'm sitting right at the end zone watching
Yeah.
this. And then the second interception, interception he had, the guy was covered. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
I just think he forced a lot of balls this year more. See, that's why I'm hesitant on the whole declining thing.
The reason I say this, I say this, as an outsider looking in, I've seen Drew Brees make those passes. I've seen him put some heat on the ball and get it in a window that's about this big, and he's done it consistently.
Yes, he did. He has.
And that's why he's not taking chances. These are things that he's done in the past, and he's made it happen. So, you know, when I'm looking at him now, I don't know if he's not putting enough on the ball to get it there, or maybe he's seeing things. Maybe the way he's seeing things may be different than what it was before. But those are still passes. Those are passes he normally makes.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is that I think part of it too is the fact that lineup is not protecting the same way. So it's not like he can go in there. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of times he got to move. He got to throw on the move. I mean, his last couple, he had a couple of interceptions where he was like guys were draping on him. He was throwing it, which he probably could sack. I would have rather him take sack than throw the interception, you know.
Right.
But he threw it and ended up turning the ball over on those cases. But I would like to see. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that there's not some level of diminishing a little bit. Maybe, because he's 35, 36.
Right.
It's just gonna happen. He knows it. I mean, people.
I'm not saying, I'm not saying, oh, he's got to retire next year. I'm just saying that from the Drew Brees that we've seen in the NFC South up to this Drew Brees, I mean, he's and I can't put my finger on what it's different, but you can see where he's not getting the ball there like he was. Because like I said, he was getting And I mean, you look 2-3 years ago, he put the ball on the money on a frozen rope, and they're catching the ball, and it's a different story. Whereas now, I mean, physically, he's trying to do his mind saying, okay, I'm gonna get the ball here, but it's not the same thing as it was.
But also too, some part of it is that I think the receivers are not getting nearly as much separation as they used to, because a lot of times when he was throwing the ball a lot of times. The guy seemed like he wide open. You know what I mean? He'd be like right there throwing, but the receivers were able to get separation. And some of these guys are not getting the same separation as they normally would.
Right.
But part of me is I'm looking at Harry Eller, the wide receivers coach, and I'm thinking maybe we got a little coaching issue there. I get it with coach. I know coaching lives in a step. I get that.
Right.
But you can't tell me that Stills, Cooks, or some of these other, or even Graham for that matter, have problems getting separation. Is it something that they're being coached?
I'm wondering once again if there's injury involved. I
know there's injury involved.
For the NFC South as a whole, I think this season was an anomaly.
It was.
I really do believe that we're gonna, next year the NFC South is gonna crush a lot of teams.
Yeah, you'll see. I think you'll see a couple 10-11 win seasons, at least 2 10-11 win teams. I'm not sure which ones. Because we don't know who's gonna be coaching Atlanta. We know. I know Rex Ryan is actually interviewing for the position. And congratulations, you guys might be getting Deron Carter, at least in the camp.
Oh, wow.
Chris Carter's son. Yeah, they're trying him out.
Yeah. Well, we'll see how that works out.
Well, the Saints had tried him out last year and ended up coming right in the early training camp. And, he would have been hard for him to make that team anyway because he already had 4 or 5 slots already filled. And then it was just a matter of, who's going to be the last for us.
So right now, the way the playoffs are working, and I know that you had mentioned this in the show as well, how you'd like to see the NFC South team go in and knock off a few teams in the playoffs. How do you see the playoff picture shaking out? And who is your favorite to win it all? Who do you think?
Well, I mean, and I don't know if a lot of people even know this myself. As a kid, I as much as I watched the Saints, I watched the Cowboys just as much. And I'm actually, and the biggest problem is this: I'm not a big Jason Garrett fan. I'm not a big Jason Garrett fan. I'll be honest with you, I'm not. And
Uh-huh.
that's probably the reason why I never talk as much about the Cowboys because Jason Garrett is still coaching the team more than anything.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with Romo. I mean, most
Yeah.
people do. I really don't. I think he's a lot better quarterback than people give him credit for
Oh, absolutely.
overall. But I mean, at this point, they kind of took the play calling out of Garrett's hand, and it's working. And they're running the ball and they're doing everything. I think Dallas is the team that I think they're solid enough on offense. Now, the defense still. I'm sorry, I still hold my breath on that defense. Don't get me wrong. Rob Marinelli has done a fantastic job, and with the defense, he's done very well with them, and better than anybody thought they would.
Oh,
You know,
absolutely.
yeah, he's done a magical job. They do right
Yeah.
there. So I mean, he can't get enough applause for what he's done to me.
Right.
But I mean, the team as a whole, they found an identity and they went out there and they're using it. So Dallas is
Yeah,
a team
absolutely.
that I'm kind of, I had to say that I'm, pushing to hope and see to win it. But I think Carolina's coming in. I mean, they got Arizona coming in to them,
Mm.
and Arizona with Ryan Lindley quarterbacking. To
Yeah.
me, I have a lot less confidence in that situation. I think Carolina, who's on a roll right now, this is a perfect one right here for them to actually knock this one off and win this game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I think the next one after that is Seattle for
Yeah.
them. I think it's Seattle for
Yeah.
them. So
Yeah.
if that's the
And
case,
and and I tell you what, Seattle, the way Seattle is playing, the way that defense is playing, uh,
yeah,
if you
yeah,
look at if you look at Seattle, this team
mhm.
versus Seattle when the season started with all the
Yeah,
injuries,
I agree. Yeah,
you're talking night and day.
it
And
is
this
nice.
is the Seattle team I expected to see this season.
Mm-hmm.
And with the defense locked
Agree.
down, contractually, uh,
Yep.
I think they are the favorites, and they should be the favorites. They're defending
I,
champions.
I can't even argue with that because of the fact that I don't like I said. I mean, Dallas. I think because Dallas has come into Seattle and beat them in that one, but also they played a different Seattle team compared to what's now. So Dallas
Right.
could be running into a buzzsaw. Anybody coming into Seattle is running into a buzzsaw again.
Oh yeah. Oh
So
yeah.
I don't see I mean, don't get me wrong, Carolina. I think Carolina has enough to beat Arizona, only because Arizona is kind of hamstrung with Lindley at quarterback. They can say what they
I
want,
agree.
but Lindley is not
He's not the
Lindley is
answer.
not Carson Palmer, and I mean even Drew Stanton ain't Carson Palmer. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
I
So
mean, and you're coming from a guy whose team has had issues with the quarterback for as
yeah,
long as we have.
hmm
I identify that right away.
yeah,
That
exactly.
Arizona's got you can have a good defense. This
And
isn't the 90s or the early 2000s where
yeah,
you have a rock solid defense
yeah,
and you can pretty much win the Super Bowl with a game managing quarterback. You need a
right,
guy that can come in there and make some noise. That's the
right.
only way that you're going to be, in contention.
And the problem is the fact that they don't have if they had a blockbuster run game. I mean, they had a serious run game. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You had that Marshawn Lynch. You had that maybe Arian Foster, Adrian Peterson, somebody like
Mhm.
that. Like a really just like clutch back.
Right.
That might cover up Lindley a lot.
Oh,
You know,
most definitely.
because you can use
Because
the run game and use
because now what you're looking at
Yep,
is they're daring this guy to throw
yep,
the ball.
exactly.
Beat us with your arm.
Yep, exactly, and I think that's where Carolina gets the advantage in that one because the defense is on a roll. They got a run game and they're running the ball very well right now. So I think I think there's going to be and I think it's going to be a low scoring game. I don't think the game. I think it's going to be like 13-9 or something
Yeah.
crazy. I mean,
Yeah,
I
most
really do.
definitely.
I do not see a high scoring game out of that one unless one of the two defenses just start picking the other quarterback off or
Mm.
just a couple of turnovers, one way or another, and that's the only thing that's going to be the difference there. Who can get those turnovers, who can make those turnovers. If Arizona can get a couple, 2 or 3 turnovers out of this game to set Lindley up a little bit, that helps them, and they could win it. They're more likely to win it that way. Carolina, I think Carolina can do it where if they long as their defense kind of just the defense doesn't have to be spectacular, it's got to be solid to me I think they got enough on offense to possibly beat Arizona. But I just don't.
And that's my thing. They've got Larry Fitzgerald, but they've got nobody that can get the ball to Larry Fitzgerald. So
that's the
that
problem.
that and
That's the
that in
problem.
unto itself is a big problem right there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm shocked that Fitzgerald would ever. I would have never signed an extension with them with the quarterbacks they've come drifting through there over the last several years. Other than Carson Palmer, I mean, they hadn't had anything over the last
Yeah,
several years.
and they haven't. Not and you can go all the way back to Kurt Warner was the last time that they had
So that's what I'm saying.
anything
Yeah,
that
Kurt
was
Warner.
to speak of.
Yeah, I was saying you had Kurt Warner. Then you had a garbage man. You had a subway worker. You had a you had a
somebody
grocery bagger.
somebody from
And then you
somebody
had
from Labor Ready.
yeah, you had Carson Palmer, and now you get back down to the street sweepers and truck drivers.
Yeah, there you go.
I hate I don't mean to be insulting about it, but I mean like these also guys who not necessarily who probably should not be quarterback in a playoff football team.
Yeah, yeah, and it just ruins the whole thing basically.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, because I would love to see both teams at full strength between Carolina and Arizona. I probably would bet Arizona all the way, because I would think that if they had Carson Palmer there, I don't think Carolina beats them. But because of the fact that one main factor with Lindley, if they can, like you said, and the fact that they don't have a sufficient enough rushing attack, that's what kills them right there. Other than that, if they had a sufficient enough rushing attack, I think it helps Lindley.
Oh,
And they probably could win this game because the defense is not an issue there. They can play.
Yeah, oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
So, I just want to kind of wrap this up. I know it's about 9 o'clock. We're going to run till 9.
Yeah.
But, and I want to thank you so much for coming on the show. I really enjoyed talking with you. You got a great football mind. And do you do your own show or?
No, actually, I don't. No, I don't. I do Southbound and Down, and a lot of times I guest on other shows. So I guest on quite a few other shows here and there. So
well, I appreciate you guesting on the initial show here for him. And, when we get Princess Nikki back on here, I'd like to have you on again because I think it's really great. You being in Tampa really does help out a lot.
Yeah.
I want to give a shout out to the freaking Puerto Rican and
Absolutely.
Cat Chronicles and Sky Karasik and all those guys. Giving me the idea to kind of get into this. I enjoy talking football. I love it, and I like going back and rewatching the game and seeing what I can see. There's a guy, I don't know if you follow him, is Steve White. He's former Buccaneer. Really great football mind. And that guy taught me how to break down film. That guy showed me this is what you need to look for. This is the formations you're looking for. This guy is a great football mind, and it doesn't matter what team you like. Yeah, it doesn't matter what team you like. This guy, he knows his stuff, man, and you would appreciate what he had to say.
I've actually heard him on radio, so I do know. I mean, like I said, because he was 98.7.
Right.
Yeah, he was former Buck player and everything like that. And, I mean, I love listening to him too myself because I can remember like all the times he has always had some great insight. So whenever he was in, he was straight up and honest about whatever he had to say, good or bad. He had to say, I absolutely respected that about him, and that's what I like about him. Yeah. So I didn't even think about ever to follow the guy, but I should do. I will follow him.
And I'll get you the link to him too.
Okay,
He's pretty awesome. And once again, I'm hoping that next season is more competitive, where we are actually good. Everybody is good, and we're beating everybody else around us.
I got a feeling it will be. I got a feeling that all the teams are going to be pretty competitive. I mean, you can almost say theoretically this year it was, even though everybody was kind of nobody felt like they wanted to win it for a while. But you know what I mean? I mean, everybody was in the race, almost up to week 10 to week 12. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was up for quite a while.
The funny thing about it, normally I'm like a rabid, I hate your team, I don't care what you say, but it was this season where everybody was doing so poorly. I was like, okay, I feel your pain.
I know, but you kept getting tired, because it was like, at this point, somebody got to show some signs of life. And,
exactly. Somebody got to want this.
Yeah, everybody was peaking, and then they dropped, and the peaking, and then they dropped. Just like, they'll win one, they'll lose one. I mean, Saints were manic depressive. If they're on the road, they're winning. If they're on home, they're getting killed. I mean, I just
And
couldn't.
for me, the bright spots for the Bucks, Gerald McCoy as usual, Levante
Honestly,
David as
yeah,
usual, who did get snubbed for the Pro Bowl, and he should have been
yeah,
a
yeah,
starter.
yeah.
He should have been a starter regardless.
Yeah, that dude
And
was a
um, and Mike Evans, Mike Evans has played amazing,
yeah,
and
he did.
he really has. And one thing I do want to point out, you get kind of a parting shot. The Cleveland Browns took Johnny Manziel instead of taking Odell Beckham Jr. And to me, that
But let me tell
I
you
can't.
something. In New Orleans, they would have took Odell Beckham Jr. in a heartbeat. If he hadn't, he already got drafted number 12 by the Giants. I think if Sean Payton had a shot at him at 20, you know what I mean, and was trading up, and Odell Beckham Jr. was there, they would have took him over Brandon Cooks in a heartbeat.
Oh, absolutely.
I couldn't have blamed him at all because I mean, as much as I like Cooks, I saw a lot more of Beckham in his career, and
Oh my goodness! And I'm here to tell you that draft class of wide receivers last year
yeah,
was
for a
something
long time to
special.
come. As long as they stay healthy, as long as all those guys
Oh,
can stay healthy, you're gonna see a lot out of every
yeah.
last one of them. I
And
mean, don't get me wrong.
but I can only hope that they use what's up here, keep
Yeah,
themselves out of trouble, and work on their
yeah,
craft to
agree.
be better ball players. That's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, we still got some other guys that Jordan Matthews up in Philly is who probably don't get talked about as much, but actually pretty impressive receiver. I actually
Yeah.
like the
Well,
kid.
they need a quarterback too, and I see somebody like a Marcus Mariota fitting into that faster paced Chip Kelly system,
Yeah,
and he's
thinking
one of
that
that's
Philly
one of
Jones, they might get Foles, or y'all get
the.
Foles for the first round
Well,
pick.
well, I really don't think that Foles will be there. I think they would trade that Chip Kelly would trade him off to get
Well,
a
that's what I'm saying.
Marcus Mariota.
I'm saying that they would trade Foles to you guys or something like
Yeah,
that for and Foles and maybe their first pick
yeah,
and maybe an extra first pick or something like that
yeah.
for the first pick to get
Yeah, you
Mariota.
just, and once again, you just never know. Um, I just am leery about risking a first round pick on a QB when I look at what happened with RG3 and,
Mm.
um, you know,
I think he's salvageable. I actually think he's salvageable.
he
I think
needs to be, and Shanahan built that system for him, and that's where he thrived in that system until he got injured.
yeah, he got injured, and the problem he ran into is that he wanted to try to turn into a pocket passer. And I think part of it was his father, too. I think his father kind of had a play in that, too.
Really?
Where, yeah, because we understand that they wanted to. I've heard the story, and I don't know, a while back. I think it was like last season or something like that, where him and his father kind of, were talking about that they wanted him to try to turn him more into a pocket passer because he was out, because he got that injured knee and all that. And,
Right,
they were thinking about, risking his career. And I get it. But at the
right.
same time, if you're going to turn around to be all of a sudden, it's hard to flip that switch like that.
No, it is.
You know what I mean? It's hard to flip that switch.
Yeah.
Now, maybe they probably could have weaned him off of it, where he had to run some read option, but
Right,
you increase his pocket passes a little more.
right.
So
Well, when I look at Michael Vick after he got out of prison,
yeah,
was really good when he was in the pocket and
yeah,
he was winging the ball. As soon as
yeah,
he
but
got outside, and these players, the running quarterbacks don't last that long in the NFL. They just
they don't. I mean, you got a guy like a Russell Wilson who will probably last a long, long time.
but Russell Wilson is cerebral. He runs
right.
with
That's what I'm saying. He's using his head. He uses his head first before he does anything. He
yeah,
will. He's definitely looking to throw first.
right.
But if he doesn't, he'll take that 20, 25 yards on you. But he
Oh,
also
absolutely.
knows how to get out the way and make sure he doesn't get hurt.
Right.
So, you know what I'm saying? And that's the page you take from right there. A guy like that. You watch Roger Staubach. You watch Terry Bradshaw. You
Steve
watch
Young.
Archie Manning. You watch all those guys who basically try to do it. Well, Archie actually stayed injured, but not really because he was running out of the pocket. He just had he had the worst offensive lines during his whole career.
Yeah,
And
I remember when I remember when Ken Stabler
was
was
another
playing.
guy. And Stabler had bad knees, and Stabler would still run the ball.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
Joe Theismann is another one. You know what I mean? He actually got hurt staying in the pocket because Taylor came around that corner on
Yeah,
him. He
yeah.
stayed in the pocket on
The
that one.
Doug Williams. Doug Williams was another one.
And I'm saying, I mean, it's a lot of film, a lot of ways for these guys to watch. Guys like that. That RG3. That Kaepernick and all these other guys should be watching how these guys will operate. Steve Young, another one.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? Who had serious wheels. He could have easily been a running back in the league, if he really wanted to. You
Yeah.
know, you know. But I mean, he knew how to, stay healthy, but still
And
be
it doesn't hurt when you've got the best receiver, one of the best receivers ever.
exactly, exactly. But I mean, it definitely doesn't hurt. Absolutely
Yeah.
doesn't. But I mean, these guys got good enough receivers. Every last one of them got some guys who are pretty decent receivers to help them out there.
Yeah. All right. Well, I want to go ahead and end this on a good note.
All
So,
right.
what I wanted to do before I let you go, tell us once again how to get a hold of you, and
Yeah,
anything special that you're doing, come the Super Bowl. I do also want to get you back on the show when the princess gets back.
yeah.
We'll do something else.
Oh,
Definitely.
absolutely, sure. I mean, you definitely contact me at IntenseGB on Twitter. I'm pretty much there all the time. So yeah, feel free to follow me, and I'll definitely follow back. And definitely like I said, talk football, wrestling, whatever. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
All right.
So
Yeah, because we start talking about wrestling, I could go a whole nother 2 hours talking about wrestling.
yeah, same here, same here. I've been a vet probably about as long in wrestling as I was football. 8 years
Yeah.
old,
Hey.
probably about 8 years old. So it was over.
Yeah, going over to the Armory over on, what is that, on Howard?
Huh?
Going
Huh?
to the Armory over in West Tampa?
Oh no, when I was living in Mississippi, it was a Mississippi College.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mid South Wrestling, baby. A little
Yeah.
uh, I think it was what Killer Carl Cox and guys like
Yeah,
that.
there you go. Rufus R. Jones and Bulldog Bob Brown and
Yeah.
all those guys, old schoolers.
Old school.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, thanks a lot once again for being on. And anybody that watches this, give me a like, and we'll be doing this again.
Absolutely.
Thanks a lot. Hey, you have a good one.
All right, you too. Take care, everybody.